What's up YouTube? Today we are making some Hey Dudes. Doing custom shoes is probably one of my favorite things to do. They're super unique, super out of the box. As much as I love doing belts and wallets and all the other things that I do, I don't get to do custom shoes all too often. They come and go. They'll be like summertime, everybody wants them, and then it'll be kind of crickets for a while, and then you get some more orders. Like, they're so sporadic, but when I do get the chance to make them, I usually have an absolute blast. I think they're super rad, super unique, just super fun to make. It's such a weird out of the box thing. They're so like not really in the direct realm of what you think of custom leatherwork. Like, some people think that they're just maybe too much, you know, obnoxious, whatever you want to call them, but in my opinion, they're so sick. Being over the top, dressing with a little bit of out of the box thinking, and just standing out from a crowd is like at the heart of what I do. So these things hit home for me for sure. Today's video, I'm gonna walk you through this sick custom pair of Hey Dudes. These weren't necessarily a super challenge for me, but they were definitely like, there's a lot of tooling, a lot of detail, a lot of color, and just a lot of patience is required. So with the intro out of the way, I'm gonna jump into making these bad boys. Okay, so I have my artwork pulled. I got this John Wayne drawing, and then I have these towers. So the towers, I'm not so worried about. Towers are gonna be relatively easy compared to this John Wayne. Set in a groove line, just so I know what space we're actually working with. This customer, very, very nice lady, except she has like a tiny ass foot. I believe these are 6s or 7s in women, so, you know, pretty much the least amount of space possible for a shoe of this detail, but you know, we're gonna make it work. I want to give myself the best chance to tool this with the most detail possible. I'm not the figure carving dude, but I'm also not terrible at it. I'd say I'm like competent in my figure carving abilities. Like I said, I'm definitely not the best, but by no means am I horrible at it. All right, so we're gonna secure the design down to make sure that I like the placement and it doesn't move, so we're gonna tape it up. Then we're gonna come back and trace out that design as accurately as possible. I had to kind of scatter those mountains. All right, so the tracing went surprisingly well. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but it was just stressful. And I have my cat, Yoshi, here, being an absolute nuisance pretty early in the morning. Usually let him in the morning until he gets super annoying because he just wants to kind of hang out. And I'm like, Yoshi, I'm trying to work, buddy. He's knocked the camera over like 3 times already. I've actually tooled these towers a few times on different items. I've done them on a belt before, and I've also done them on a wallet, or one of the towers, the one that I'm actually carving right now, because it's kind of the most big and iconic one and the coolest looking one. But I've never had to do them with this much detail, and like the whole focus of this entire shoe is just these towers, so that's gonna be a little tricky. A lot of the times the hard thing with these types of rock formations is that you'll have these vertical lines as well as horizontal lines, and knowing where to put those is super critical. All right, Pilgrims, let's do it. All right, so this John Wayne was pretty tricky. It's like a face the size of my pinky fingernail, a whole torso, and 3/4 of a horse. It was definitely tricky, but the only way to really get around doing any of this is just going slow and steady. Try to use a couple different blades to kind of get any size detail that I need. All right, so I got these bad boys back and I'm ready to start beveling them. I'm actually kind of excited to tool this mountain shoe because of just how quickly I think it's gonna go. It should be pretty exciting. So you'll see one of the things I do when I tool things, like whenever it comes to kind of figure carvings, whether it's landscapes or actual actual objects or animals or whatever, is I will come in and you'll see my deeper cuts, and then you'll see my shallower cuts. So what I'll tend to do is come in and tool my super deep cuts first. When I do that, that's usually like the actual structure of what's going on, and then all the other lighter cuts are usually going to be the supporting details rather than instead of the lines that carry a lot of the heavy weight and heavy lifting of a design. All right, pilgrims. I'm tooling leather, pilgrims. You'll see I bevel like all these lines in here pretty hard. I like to do I usually have like 2 or 3 separate weights of bevels that I do. I like doing the hard ones in there, so anything that kind of pops out, you could see the silhouette of the John Wayne. I'm hitting that stuff in there to really bring it forward. And then some of the smaller details like the reins and like John Wayne's wild rag, I'm hitting that a little bit softer because I still do want it to pop out, but you know, you don't want it as pronounced as the outline of the guy. From here, I jumped straight into the paint and the stain and whatnot. I went with a dark black border, and then that brown on the mountains was kind of neat, except it bled really hard, and I had to end up kind of using a bunch of layers to kind of get it to blend and layer up whenever you look at that landscape piece there. And then with this sky, I started with the orange because it's the primary color, and then the dark purples, and then blended it in with the blue. All right, I got these painted. I just got to throw some Resolene on them, and then I'm going to stain them and kind of sky the back of them just so that they're not so bulky and stiff when we actually go to sew these on the shoe. Definitely kind of a funky color palette on this one. It had a lot of these like burnt oranges and yellows and stuff and purples. This is the original photo that we kind of tried to replicate some of this crazy, you know, fiery sky with the purples and the blues. It's kind of hard to see on the video, but I'm hoping once we actually throw some Resolene and some stain on this, it's gonna really do what I want it to do. You can see also I kind of added in some purples here to accentuate some of that crazy purple with the oranges and the yellows. And yeah, I'm gonna Resolene these bad boys right now. I hit it with some acrylic Resolene, and then I stained it with some Phoebing's dark brown antique. Alright, so I got these bad boys, I have these glued down, kind of settled, and now I'm gonna stitch these and call it a freaking day, dude. It's 1,000 degrees in here, but I like how they're turning out so far, and yeah, I'm gonna show on the road. So I got the old green turd like everybody else has. I absolutely hate using the sewing machine, and my next investment is a non-hand crank turd, but this is what I use for shoes. It's pretty reliable. I've gotten mine dialed in. I know people have a lot of problems with theirs on account of, you know, it being a giant turd. The tip is to just go super slow and don't be greedy. I'm sure many of you know what this machine is. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm gonna zip these bad boys up and call it quits for the day. I'm sewing, pilgrims. So there you have it. These shoes turned out super sick. You can see we got our little John Wayne on a horse. Howdy Pilgrims. I really like the color. I think it's super sick. I had an absolute blast making these. You know, I don't know if I can say much more other than like what I said in the video. The biggest thing with these was that this is a pretty small shoe. These are, I believe, like women's 7s or something like that. So I wish I had a little bit more surface area to work with, but I didn't. So I made do with what I had. I mean, you can see next to my hand that pretty much like less than my palm size area to work with, so that was definitely tricky. But part of having your own custom business is like every day is a challenge because you're having to think outside of the box and work with what you're given. So, you know, with all that being said, I love how they turned out. It was a super fun project. If you guys enjoyed that video, if you learned anything, if you thought it was entertaining, tell your friends, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to check me out on Instagram or any other things that I'm associated with, you can find all that stuff down in the description below. If you are interested in placing your own order, you could find all that stuff down below as well. So with all that stuff out of the way, I will catch you guys in the next video. Who knows what's gonna happen? Every video is a mystery on this YouTube channel. When you have a custom business, you never know what tomorrow's gonna look like as it is. And you know your boy likes to get wacky, so catch you in the next one.